In just a bit, those of us gathered will engage in a ceremony of welcome and witness as several people become members of this fellowship. Becoming a member of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Boca Raton carries a certain weight that goes beyond mere affiliation. Becoming a member of this fellowship means entering into a covenantal relationship. That's a promise to one another, a deep promise that calls for deep commitment. It means walking together in good times and bad, accepting one another in all our attributes, the pluses and the minuses, as we walk, stride, crawl, or muddle our way toward attaining personal truths that lead to our becoming our best selves in the least and growing our souls at best. Membership here means journeying together. It means journeying together in community, not alone. Membership means we give what we can of ourselves, our time, or our talent, or our treasure, or maybe all three. But we do that toward the good of the whole. We give toward the good of us all. So let me compare congregational life to barn raising. Here in the Great Plains of life, we build together, bringing our gifts, be it nails and a hammer, Popeye arms and a strong back, a construction plan and a load of lumber, a plumb line and a level, a bowl of potato salad and an apple pie, or a fiddle and a song to keep spirits up as the sun sets on a long day. We raise our barn metaphorically for each other because we know we need each other. We wouldn't do well at all without each other. But nobody these days raises a barn. Except for maybe the Amish, maybe they still do that. The communal life reflected in that image of barn raising has become almost countercultural. In the secular world, few are inclined to help each other. Few see others outside family and close friends as neighbors anymore. Neighbors, those people who actually live next door to you. How often do you see them, talk to them, look out for them, and them for you? If you and your neighbors know each other and look out for each other, I think you are fortunate. My neighbors are friendly, but intensely private. They might wave as they drive by, but then turn in their driveways, pull into their garages, and pull down the garage door before even getting out of the car. To me, that kind of cocooning tendency belies living in a platted neighborhood in close proximity to others. It puzzles me. Human beings need one another. We are hardwired for social connection. This year, the U.S. Surgeon General issued an advisory on an epidemic of loneliness and isolation in our country. The report says, changes in key indicators, including individual social participation, demographics, community involvement, and use of technology over time, suggest both overall societal declines in social connection and that currently a significant portion of Americans lack adequate social connection. In 1960, single-person households were only 13% of total U.S. households. In 2022, single-person households increased to 29%. Almost a third of households in our country are one-person households. Now, there's not anything wrong with that in and of itself. But for some, it can be isolating. What's more is that social isolation increased by 24 hours per month. People are spending 24 more hours a month alone, and that's from 2003 to 2020. That increase occurred. And one contributing factor that I read about is the time spent socializing with friends. Socializing with friends dropped by 20 hours per month in the same time frame. And this is really before COVID really set in. So one of the reasons this jumped out at me is because of my own daughter, who is 29 years old. And she, first of all, COVID wrecked her social life in her mid-20s, but she still has a hard time connecting. She ultimately joined a, let me see if I get this right. Is it kickball? Yes, it's not dodgeball, but kickball, a kickball team. So the advisory, the Surgeon General's caution is that loneliness and isolation and lack of a supportive social network put a person at greater risk for cardiovascular disease, dementia, stroke, depression, anxiety, and premature death. Now, I think overall, this is not news to us, but the Surgeon General's report brings greater insight into what I've been calling the malaise of our time, and that is this tendency towards over-individualism, being only concerned for ourselves and those very close to us, and overconsumption, because that's what happens when you're lonely and isolated, or can happen, is you consume too much food, alcohol, buying things. We've all heard of retail therapy. This malaise is also causing civic disengagement. We're not questioning what our leaders are doing, our elected leaders and our civic leaders are doing, and there's a corresponding breakdown in trust in each other and our public institutions in general. So why, when we're such social animals, have we evolved into lone wolves in our society? Well, the answer, of course, is very complex. We may not fully understand what's happening to us right now for decades or maybe centuries to come. But perhaps instead of an answer, we should be looking for an antidote. And I don't think there's much argument against congregational life being a source of connection for existing members and potentially for those seeking connection. Yet I do have a theory about what might inhibit people from seeking the kind of connection we offer at this fellowship and other congregations on a Sunday morning, or other religious institutions on a Friday or a Saturday night. I think part of what contributes to our isolation involves this unreasonable expectation of perfection, of human perfection, that's kind of become an idol of the world out there. I can only tell you from my own point of view, but I know that there is data to back this up. My whole life, I've been in receipt of television and television shows like Leave It to Beaver and Ozzie and Harriet, right? And I'm seeing this stuff on television and comparing it to my life at home, and like it's not even close. And so I've also my whole life been exposed to marketing and the magazines and media that uses in advertising, it uses these images of perfection, right? Do you remember when Lauren Hutton, the model, she just absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, perfect face, and she had pictures taken of herself. First of all, she had this huge gap between her front teeth and between her two front teeth. And of course, it didn't take away from her looks at all, but this is what I'm talking about. These images are the models are made up to perfection. They are using the new technology we have for photoshopping, that the person who's modeling for the picture doesn't look like the same person when they're done messing with it. This is what I've been in receipt of all my life. And the message that if I just try hard enough, I can be perfect too. And let me tell you, being a frizzy-haired, pudgy kid in the age of Cher and Twiggy was not easy. And since the mid-20th century, we've all been bombarded with these daily messages of perfection. And the message that if we just try hard enough, we'll have the perfect home, the perfect car, the perfect body, the perfect children, the perfect family, the perfect life. And what is more, if there are people who are not seeing themselves or have not been seeing themselves in these images. Some people of color, a certain class, ethnicity, ableness, right? Or disability. Now this is changing, and that's a good thing. But, at least as a white middle-class kid, I would iron my hair, and I finally did grow out of that pudginess. But when you're not even represented as an object of perfection, this is problematic for folks. Perfectionism is the golden ring that's always just out of reach of every human being. And it can create in us, I think, a sense of shame at not measuring up to Stepford-like standards. And it's madness, but I think that people of my generation and later, and those especially who might be more vulnerable or less resilient for any number of reasons, that if they internalize that shame, they're going to stay home rather than risk judgment in a community. It's like the young writer Cole Arthur Riley says, If you go without belonging for long enough, if you've known the sting of betrayal, you can end up manufacturing an identity from your alienation. To protect yourself from the reminder and risk of exclusion, you begin initiating distance on your own, calling yourself loner or independent. But a life lived with trust, in only the self is exhausting, she says. So though written many centuries ago by a Persian mystic, Sufi mystic, I think the words of Jalaluddin Rumi contain a timeless wisdom and relevancy concerning our human nature. His words are these: come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, it doesn't matter. Ours is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times, come, yet again, come. Here, Rumi invites all to join him in his joyful spiritual journey in life. He invites wanderers, worshipers, lovers of leaving. He extends an unconditional welcome to makers of mistakes, to the irreverent, to idol worshipers. His caravan welcomes your deficits as well as your gifts, even if you've broken your vows 1,000 times, and that's a lot of broken promises. Rumi says, don't let that keep you from joining the caravan, the community where connection can be found. It can be life-saving. For us today in our fellowship, I think it's important to offer hospitality and extend the kind of welcome Rumi speaks to. The last thing we want to do is try and make seekers into our own image. Joan Chittister, she's a Benedictine nun and a theologian and a writer. She says, hospitality is the key to new ideas, new friends, new possibilities. What we take into our lives changes us. Without new people and new ideas, we are imprisoned inside ourselves. And let us let go of perfectionism, in that we feel we must come into this place on a Sunday morning and be all happy, happy, joy, joy. It's okay to come into this place sad, grieving, not feeling well. Well, if you have a fever, stay home. But just plain grumpy. Come on in. As long as we're not taking our bad days out on others, we should expect to be welcomed in whatever state of imperfection we are experiencing that day. Let us see in each other the whole of who we are, and let us seek to understand each other with curious rather than stereotyping or like classifying or slotting kind of questions like, where do you live? What do you do for a living? What brought you here? Tell me about your journey, right? Open questions. Take the risk of being open and being changed by the stranger, the seeker, the joiner of our caravan. And lastly, as we look to welcome new members to our fellowship today, let this ceremony be a reminder of the meaning of your own membership, the depth of your commitment, the strength of your connection here, and how being a dedicated barn raiser buoys you in other aspects of your life. May your membership be an antidote to the epidemic of loneliness in our world today. So now let us begin our new member welcome. So I'm going to call up first Sharon Drew and Jennifer Leggetti to come to this podium right here. And then I'm going to call up John Page and Marlene Murray, and please bring your programs with you. And Karen Shelley and Eric Landstrom. And you're going to stand right here, right in front of this table, or right behind this table. Now, there is Allison and Jerry McDonald who have actually joined. They've been completely virtual. And we were hoping that they could come here today so that they could sign the book and your witness, but unfortunately, Jerry's not feeling well this morning. And I put Nellie Falcone's name in by error. So I am sorry about that, but Nellie is sticking with us and gonna catch us next time, right? Is there anybody I left out? No? Okay, all right. So let me grab my script here and come down. So I believe, Sharon, you open our ceremony, correct?
Today, we welcome you into our community new members who have chosen to make a commitment to community. Can I hold them up now? I'm on top of this.
It's not on yet, Sharon. No.
Probably takes a while. Now can you hear me? Oh, I can hear me too. Today, we welcome into our community these new members who have chosen to make a commitment to this congregation by signing the membership book. New members, we are so glad to have you here with us and that you have chosen this community of fellow seekers to travel with you on your life journey. Will you accept our gifts of fellowship, discovery, and service? Will you offer us your unique presence and gifts? Will you add your name to the long history of Unitarian Universalist women and men who spread hope with our living faith? Will you engage with us as we seek to create a community and a world dedicated to love and justice?
We will.
Congregation, will you welcome these new members with the warmth and comfort of your fellowship? Will you seek to add your strengths and talents to the new gifts they bring to us? Will you share our triumphs and our struggles as our community grows and changes?
And now let us say together again the covenant of this fellowship, the promise that we make to each other each week, which holds our community together in common purpose, common love, in the midst of our beautiful diversity of belief. Altogether, love is the doctrine of this faith, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service its prayer. to dwell together in peace,
to seek the truth in love, to the end that all shall grow into harmony. Thus do we covenant with one another.
So we have a gift to you, a gift, a symbol of our welcome. Thank you, Eric. So we gift you with a chalice mug to symbolize the cup of our community. And in each cup contains a packet of seeds to symbolize growth and nurturing. And since these are basil seeds, they may add flavor to your life too. And there is a candle, a little votive for ceremony, a chalice in a pinch and a light in the darkness. And there are bubbles for never-ending curiosity, wonder, and fun. And there's a little thing of fair trade coffee that it represents justice, awareness, and alertness. And chocolate for joy in the here and now, and because chocolate. And finally, there's a quick reference pocket card about Unitarian Universalism so that you can keep handy the 7 principles as they are for now and be reminded and guided by them. And may your time here be filled with all of these things, but most of all, may you find here friendship and love. So now we are going to have each of you sign the book and take a cup. So I'm going to help you get that set up here. So let's give a big hand to our new members. And I just thought of something. Paul, why don't you come up here and sign these folks in as witness? All right, you are official as of September 10th, and we welcome you once again.